The Survival Guide to Life.
Hey everyone, how's it going? We got another episode of the Survival Guide to Life. And on this week's episode, we have Olesija Saue. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, Olesija, and giving us your time. If you could just tell everyone just a little bit who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Maren. Hi, everybody who is listening today. I'm a personal branding expert and business strategist at a social media agency. I've been doing business for 20 years already. I'm a former CEO of Forbes Estonia. And so nowadays I help companies achieve their goals through social media. And if we're talking about social media, we can't not talk about personal branding, because we really always buy both products and services from people, not from companies.
That's really awesome. I'm just curious, from getting into this path, was this from the young age, or did you have other things, like when you grew up? Was Olesija like, okay, I want to, be in business and I want to consult and build brands, or like, what was she like? And then how did you develop into the person you are now?
Well, actually, I think I'm one of those people who didn't know exactly what to do till a quite late age. Originally Estonia was part of Soviet Union, so we had pretty well structured career path. So we had to finish school and we had to go to the university and then go in and have some job. When I finished university, I went to work at steel galvanizing plants, knowing nothing about steel, but pretty quickly, actually, I think within 1 year, I made quite a big jump on the career ladder and became first sales director and then general manager of the steel plants. Then I left this company in a couple of years and started my own steel trading company. Pretty much by the age of 25 or so, I had everything that I could possibly want in life. And then came the previous crisis of 2007 and 2008, and there were different things that went wrong in the world, including steel prices going down 50% overnight, and customers defaulting on payments and things like that. So pretty much in a couple of months, I went from very high to below zero. And one of the reasons why I got into personal branding was actually my personal story, that I had to rediscover who am I if I don't have anything left, no status, no money, and lots of debt. It's easier to talk about this now, looking back at that, but it was pretty devastating. But it also gave me a realization that your personal brand, so who you are, your strengths and your values and your why, you can never lose it. And it is the biggest advantage that you have actually to be aware of, and you have to really show to the world who you are, because that's the way that you can connect with people on much deeper level, and it actually also helps in sales and marketing. So when I went from this personal crisis, I started to use the things that I have, all of my knowledge and my experience. I started, and I had a very good network, and people started to ask me, how do you do that? How do you do that? So I got into consulting in this way. And because I also have my own business experience, I have this combination of marketing and sales experience, but also understanding of business from the inside. So I know what the business owners want. And for me, personal branding is a combination of self-development, self-growth, because in order for personal branding to be authentic, we have to understand who we are. We have to understand what we want, because only this actually gives this personal branding authenticity. Because quite often when people are talking about personal branding, they're just thinking, oh, those shiny posters, influencer status on social media. But authenticity really comes from within, from what you and only you can offer to the world.
So, Olesija, you touched on so many different points that I really coincided with, and it really aligned with me. And just at the end, where you said it's not about saying it, it's about the authenticity and where you're coming from. So that really can be read from someone right away. So if you're coming in from the wrong angle, then the route's wrong, right? But then I'm curious with your mindset from how being in another business and starting there as an up and comer and then making your way to the top and then going in like brand new entrepreneur and then deciding to start your own firm and go this route and avoiding the noise around you, no matter what it is, whether it be good or bad or both at the same time, and just be able to have that laser focus and just know what you're going to do and have a plan and be able to execute and be where you are today.
Yes, that's true. And it all comes actually from really understanding like why you are doing or the things that you are doing. And I think that in today's very busy environment, we never actually stop and think that why I'm doing this, what is my real goal, what I want, what impact do I want to have in the world. And once we, and it's a very difficult question to find answer to that. But once you do it, that gives you this focus that you are talking about, gives you clarity, and also it gives you this energy that it drives it. And this authenticity comes from this energy that comes within, because you're so excited about the thing that you are doing that you can't help it, but really share this with the world, and people sense it. People sense it when you are talking. People sense it when you are doing podcasts, when you are making posts and things like that. So, and this authenticity actually is also not really showing to the world how good you are, but also accepting and acknowledging the things that you're not good at. So it's not really black and white, but it's a combination of different colors.
Oh wow! That in that angle and the way you described it, it's like you can take it in a metaphysical meaning and really like the energy, and like if you look in a quantum physics sense and the way someone's energy is, and then likewise you can say this platform, especially in the time we're in and amongst everything and not being able to really meet and connect with people, that same energy, you can say, in sound waves comes back, and you can see the level of authenticity within a person, if that makes sense.
Yes, that's exactly that, because we really sense it, and you can't fake it. You can't say that, oh, I'm authentic. People sense it on some deeper level. That you are not, well, basically your words are not really coming from your heart, so you want you hear what the other people would think about you, how they would judge you, but it really all comes from how do we relate to ourselves Do they accept us just the way that we are, or we want to be and show up better than we really are? But we are really, there's this good word that describes it, flawsome. So awesome with all of your flaws and accepting that because that's what really makes us unique.
So now, what I wanted to know is, having that lens on and that mentality, how do you use it in a marketing sense? And say you're working with multiple clients, coming with that same level of authenticity, but with the appropriate lens for each client.
Well, that's where personal branding actually comes in, because personal brand, each of us has a personal brand, so we don't really have to invent the personal brand. The question is whether we are doing something about it strategically, so whether we understand it and try to use it to achieve our business goals, or we just let it happen on its own. So personal branding is a set of strategic actions, steps. So we put together a strategy to understand who is Amar, what is personal brand DNA, what are your strengths, what are your values, what is your lifestyle, what is your communication style, and also what is your goal. So what do you want to achieve for this personal branding? And on the other side, we also think about your ideal customer. So who is this person? What is important to him? And based on this, your personal brand DNA and understanding of this customer, we put together this value proposition, which really shows who you are. And we can do this through values, for example, because if I value growth and I talk about growth and you also value growth, we already connect on a much deeper level. So personal branding helps us to tell customers our story in the way that they can relate. When I was telling you my personal story, you said that, you touched me on a couple of different levels, because some of the things that I was saying was resonating with you. And so the same thing is in marketing. We can put in front of the business, in front of the services or products, real people, and start from this story, why I'm selling this book, or why I'm doing this podcast. So what is behind that? So people understand it on a deeper level, and they relate to that, and they want to buy from you, because of your story, because they like you. And we can never achieve this through traditional branding, because when we're creating brands, what we're doing, we're trying to humanize them. So if you're thinking, like, for example, about BMW, about Volvo, all of them are created with some persona in mind. So they also try to touch different points which are important to those people, and some of the keywords would come to you when I'm talking about BMW or about Volvo. So the same thing with the personal brand. If I'm using it in marketing, I want you to think about me and immediately have one word that could resonate with you. And through that, I can basically build trust with you. You get to know me. We get this human relationship, and then if I help you to overcome your obstacles, if I help you to solve your problem, then we can talk about this profitability part and selling part. So am I answering your question?
No, you answered my question, but with everything you were saying, you know how it's like, oh, we know that, but when someone's listening, it's like, oh yeah, we know that, but instead of just letting it pass by but really being able to hone in and being like, okay, how can I do this, and being mindful of like what we're doing, and like sort of try to be in a bird's eye as much as we can when we're doing these strategies or we're doing these goals, so we can really measure our success and what we're doing. And while you were talking, I still can't help but looking behind you, and I wanted to know if you could tell me a little bit of each plaque and each thing behind you.
Even those.
Yes.
Those are actually some of the awards that our social media agency has received for different projects that we have done for customers. Actually, a couple of others roles covered with that. So, but it's good that you're asking, because this is also one part of the branding. Because different awards and different achievements that we can show to the world help to build credibility. And in branding, there are 3 different stages that help us to use it to achieve our goals. So first, we have to be visible, so we have to know that I exist at some level. And then I have to raise this level of trust, and I can raise the level of trust that telling about myself in different formats, or I can show to you different achievements. I can let other people talk about me. I can use your podcast as a credibility builder to my audience. And only when we have done those levels properly, we can already talk to the customers, or they are ready to buy. And quite often, when you are looking, for example, at the advertising world, and you see banners on Facebook, this is operating in this third stage, so asking for sale, but not really preparing the customers and not really building the foundation. And nowadays, it doesn't really work that much. That's good anymore.
No, you have a very interesting way of looking at things, and like my explanation for that, it's like this entrepreneurial gene. Now, people don't like say it's there, but it's like the entrepreneurial mindset's so different when you look at everything and you're able to look at it like, say, back in the day when we were humans, right? We were hunters and we were gatherers, and there were different people like that. But then you had the one who was sort of like the head, who sort of knew a little bit of everything, but not everything so deep, but just enough that you can manage everything. So when you have that and you're able to execute on this gift, it really needs and calls for a disciplined mind and a resilient mind, especially times like this. So I was curious to what you do to execute amongst adversity.
I think that it is important that to have your very clear goal in mind. This is the first thing we have to start to really understand what is my why, where I am moving, what do I want to achieve in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years. But there is this problem with goals that sometimes they can be so big and perhaps seem so unattainable that we lose motivation very quickly. So I think that the recipe, at least the recipe that works for me, is baby steps. Just take one small step at a time. You don't have to know the full road, but every day you can take like 5 minutes of action, 10 minutes of action, and just ask yourself, what is the one thing that I can do today that, if it works out, would make the biggest possible difference. And then just do that. And if you have more time, then do things, do 3 things, but at least do something and do this consistently. So in everything that we are doing, consistent effort brings the biggest results.
So it just goes back in on having a clear plan and like really having clarity and knowing what it is. So not just like saying it. I guess you can write it, but visioning it, being it, like hearing what it hears sounds like, smelling those smells, all of this, but having, say, a 5-year vision, but then that 5-year vision have a 4-year vision, then a 3, and then 2 to 1, and then month to month, and then day to day, and then really breaking it down how you can tackle these bigger goals so they don't really seem like it's so far away, and now every day it's exciting because now you're getting closer to your bigger goal that you're looking at.
Yes, exactly. And also one important point is that when you're setting the goals, then you really think about what do I want, and what activities bring me energy, what I'm really enjoying. Because it's not only enough that we have big goals, 5 or 10-year plans, and on every day we are unhappy and we don't enjoy what we're doing, because it's also not sustainable. So we have to both look at the bigger picture, but really enjoy doing things for the sake of doing things. For example, if I ask you why you are doing podcasting, you have your vision, but I believe that you also like the process of podcasting itself, and meeting different people and talking to them. Am I right?
Yes, and that's where I feel like it's a whole different tool. Now, you might find this very interesting. I was speaking to this lady in a Facebook group that had podcasters and a way to connect people. So she said her son's project for computers was they had to make a podcast and edit it, produce it, and use it. Now, you have other people like the likes like Gary Vee, who's saying make a podcast, and now you have all the digital marketers and then like the media company. I think we should make a podcast, but then they don't do it. But then some people will try it, but then that's where what you said, and then the authenticity, and why are you going to do this now? Are you just doing it for that purpose, or are you doing it for a different reason? And this tool is so versatile because now you have so much content, because in there's so many different golden nuggets, or as you were speaking, you're dropping golden boulders, and then we just like really be able to utilize this and understand this, and then I think more people will be able to benefit.
Yes, exactly. And we have like such a big variety of different things that we can do, and it is important that we build on our strengths. So if you're, for example, good at speaking, then some speaking arrangements can be good for you to achieve your goals. Or if you're good with video, then this is the best possible way. Or if you're good at writing, then do that, and you don't really have to run after every new trick or go onto a new platform because everybody else is doing it. It's really about finding the one thing that is working for you properly. And once you have mastered it and you want to expand further, then you can add like additional tools, different new platforms, new things.
So when you're in this type of mindset, how do you really sort of within yourself figure out what it is you're really great at, and then just try to focus all your attention on just that. And then once you sort of get that dialed in, really start tackling everything rather than trying to be like an octopus and dabble in everything at once and then not really get anywhere.
Yeah, I think that we really should operate in our so-called zone of genius. Finding those unique strengths that are unique only to us. And I think that is one of the exercises that our listeners could also do. Just write down all of the strengths that they think that they have, but also at the same time ask from people around them, from their friends or colleagues, what strengths do I have? Because quite often, this superpower, only one thing that you have, it is so obvious to us, like it seems so natural that we don't understand that this is unique only to me. Nobody else thinks that it's easy, and nobody else enjoys that. So I remember I was trying to find my superpower for quite a long time, and this I'm multi-passionate. So I have different things that interest me, and for quite a long time that was also a problem for me, because when you're marketing, you need that focus. So the broader the span, the more difficult it is to really connect and give you a message to the audience in the correct way. And I couldn't understand what is this my one superpower is. So I have different strengths, but everybody else also has them. So, but once I realized that my superpower is really that I can inspire people, but not only to just inspire, but inspire them to act, to take this step, to start moving, to make those baby steps, to do something about things that they don't like. To change, make the change. And when I came to this realization, I told this to my husband, and he said that, obviously that's what you are always doing. It's like a hedgehog. He's always trying to pinch you and then make you move this extra move to start changing something. So. With superpowers, is quite often that we don't realize what it is that makes us super powerful.
And when you find the superpower and you really you can say, be a treasure and show everyone. But it's crazy because you said it earlier. You said sort of the like people will find you, and I have a few sayings. It's like your vibe attracts your tribe. I know, like they also say, birds of the same feather flock together, right? And then when you meet someone and you understand this, and then you try to learn from them, it's like a different type of learning. The way I can explain it, it's like when you learn from a book, it's great, but before time and before we were even able to find a way to get conversation, recorded, it was just passed between a mentor and a student. And when you hear someone or you listen to someone that coincides with you and they really bring in strong points as a student, what type of mindset do you want to have to be able to really implement everything what they're saying?
Well, what you are saying is actually from the beginning of history, the way that we passed the information to each other was through stories. So there is nothing new about that. Just with the power of internet, we are able to share those stories to much bigger groups and much bigger tribe, rather than just one tribe around your fireplace. I think that in order to learn, you first have to have, there is this fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So I think the people who are able to grow and don't think that I know everything, but just looking in every conversation for something which is of value, which you can apply straight away. And in every conversation, in every book you read, in every podcast you hear, there are tons of things that could be of value. And the real value is when you take something and you apply it. Because before we take action and apply it, this knowledge is not really of any value. So we can know many different things in theory, but if we don't use them in our life, it won't help us. So perhaps the best example is that I think if you ask people how to lose weight, then most of the people would come up with a pretty easy plan. Don't eat junk and go to the gym and exercise on a regular basis. So everybody knows that, but quite a lot of people are not really applying this in their life. And this application of knowledge is really what is very important. And we can do that through habits. We can do this through baby steps. And once we become acquainted with that, it becomes our second nature.
It's like when you say, for example, now, if I said, okay, close your mind now and picture nothing. Now, picture a dumpster. Now, Olesija, picture all your thoughts going in the dumpster and try not to think of anything. Now, compare that, and if I said, look and just picture a panda bear and just think about a panda bear. Now, I'm sure it was way easier to think about just the panda bear than when thinking of a dumpster and trying not to think of anything because the way our mind works. So that's what I thought when you said that. So like when we're listening, not really just listen and have it go away, but listen deep within our mind and then be able to use it and execute it and have it like on command, so to say, while we're in our day-to-day life.
Yes, I think you are right. And well, there is this funny joke about the pink elephant. That if I tell you not to look at the pink elephant in the corner of the room, that would be the only thing that you would be thinking about. Yeah, but well, as we all know, what we focus on, that is what we attract.
So that's really great. So with doing this and being able to go day by day and having the energy, how do you prevent yourself from burning out or sort of losing passion or drive, or like get so complacent from something that is predictable, so to say?
I think it's a very important question that you asked. In my case, it's all about finding the right balance and putting myself first. And I know that it might sound quite egoistically, but we have to understand that in order to give and in order to share energy and be active, our cup has to be full first. So if we don't really take care of ourselves, if we don't take time to exercise, if we don't take time to read or meditate or go to the gym, then quite quickly we will be drained, we will not have energy to share. And I think it's not really honest with the people that we are interacting, because we really have to show up in our best possible capacity and then give everything that we can. But as in case with top athletes, they have very intense periods of exercise, but at the same time, they have very structured way of how they are relaxing and restoring their capacity. I think we as humans in our everyday life, we very often forget about that. Passionate people who like what they're doing tend to forget about this even quicker. So I get so immersed in what I'm doing, time disappears, and we don't eat, we don't sleep, but it's not really sustainable. So you have to put yourself first, and you have to put priorities. So the same way that you would have a planned meeting with your clients or some job activity, the same way you have to plan in yourself, date with yourself, date with your loved one, time for your children, and things like that.
Then with that and keeping that in mind, it really comes down to being mindful. And being mindful, I feel like, is a muscle, just like going in the gym. Just like it takes time and you have to do different workouts to get the right muscle. To get mindfulness right in every aspect, you have to do different mental exercises. So I wanted to know if you, now speaking in this connotation, what would you think would be an effective way to just build one's mindfulness?
In order to, there are different ways to build mindfulness, and there are different structured exercises. But I think that mindfulness is really being in the present moment. Best teachers of mindfulness are children. If you look at the way that small children are playing, then they are really immersed in this situation. There is nothing around them. They are completely focused. And we as grown-ups, when I can be physically in one place, but there are hundreds of thoughts running in my mind and thinking about what somebody told me in the morning or what I'm going to have for dinner. So real mindfulness is focusing on the process, and it is also the only way that you can enjoy the process. And you can be mindful while talking to another person. You can be mindful while walking, really focusing on your steps, noticing nature around you, noticing sounds. You can be mindful washing dishes. And really focusing on the process of washing dishes, not really thinking what you would do next. So it's I think it's an exercise, and you're right that we can train this ability to be mindful. But the first step is that we realize that okay, I'm not present in the moment. My thoughts are somewhere very far away from this place. Stop and bring yourself into this situation now. You can take a deep breath, and already you are here. As with everything, it gets easier with practice.
And with practice, and now with being able to do it without thinking, and now trying to use this in a consulting sense, how can you really look in and really dive in and look for, like, say, bottleneck or anything that could be optimized, or any way that you can add value, how do you sort of really switch the dial from being relaxed and mindful and then being locked in and really trying to optimize and add value?
But I don't think that, well, this is kind of a misconception about mindfulness, that mindfulness is, when you are sitting in yoga pose and meditating, and you can be mindful also, and it can be very helpful if you're mindful in the conversation, talking to your client or customer. Because once you are mindful, so you don't have thoughts which are running through your head, you really can listen to a person and not think what is the next question that I would ask, having your own agenda on your mind, but trying to understand this person, where he comes from, and you can also notice different things about his body language, and you can understand the different tones which are coming and kind of read between words. So being mindful is it's quite popular word at the moment, but I think it's very often really misunderstood. The thing that it's just I can be mindful for 5 minutes in the morning meditating and then do around my day forgetting about that.
When you were talking and being able to sort of align not only with my ears but my body, my mind, and understand, and when you speak you have a different way of speaking now, because when you speak you're speaking in a different lens, and when I was listening I was able to really just eternalize, if that makes sense, because like mindfully, like when before you said that and after you said that, the way I thought and the way I really listened was completely different. So I can see that, and I guess it comes with time, just being able to stop and then breathe and then come back and then just doing that. But it comes then, I guess, with self-discipline. So having the self-discipline to keep breathing and coming back, what are some of the things that you did to develop your self-discipline?
Well, I'm definitely not a Yoda in mindfulness, but for me, I think my biggest teacher in mindfulness is my 5-year-old son, because as I said, children are very good at mindfulness, and then children can also very quickly understand when we are as grown-ups are not present. So if we are, for example, physically there, but we have some problems at work thinking about what to do for dinner. Children sense that, and children start to demand the attention that you can't give them, that you don't want to give them. And when my child was born, I started to notice those moments, when a child is not is crying, for example. That's one of the reasons, or one of the signs that he's not getting attention. And because for children, attention is like the most important thing that they can get. And so I started to notice that, okay, I don't give him enough attention, but I'm here. Why does he think that I don't give him attention? And then I started to realize, okay, I'm here physically, but my mind is wandering and thinking about other things. And I started to train myself, like play for 5 minutes with Lego and not think about anything other than Lego. And it can be very difficult, but once you practice that, I think it gets easier with time. also with its mindfulness, I think we don't have to, on another side, don't have to overdo that. And so if we can't be like 100% 24/7 mindful. We are humans after all. When not mindful, we understand that, okay, I'm not present, and it's okay to acknowledge that and then get back and then start all over again.
So in that aspect, like I always say, or I always try to just come in on the similarities in anything. So if you wanted to say, for example, quote unquote, someone would like to say the devil or evil forces or things like that, I'll say it's a treadmill. Okay, now you're on the treadmill, and anything like life, so like little tasks that are hard or things, when you're trying to go, is when the resistance gets pulled on. So you can look at that it could also just be negative or positive in the light. For anyone who listens or whatever you believe in, you can just take it in the similar aspect as it's just there's always going to be that resistance in life when you're trying to do things which are for the long run. Like it makes me remember one time in psychology class they did this test. I know you're familiar with it, with the kids, where they had little marshmallows and they kept it in front of them, and then some of them they licked it right away, and some of them took a bite and put it back and flipped it over. But then when they studied them later on, they found out the ones with delayed gratification and staying in and getting the second one, that they were more successful. So just having that delayed gratification, and especially in starting your own business and like leaving a business and starting your own, how do you sort of keep that in front of you when you're building this from day one?
I think the best way is to focus on something that is bigger than you, really, to find this why you are doing that, and because life happens to us, and we can't be always prepared for the things that are happening. But if you think, like, for example, about all of the great entrepreneurs, they all have very big vision, which is pulling them and also pulling other people behind that. And I think that in every business, whatever that is, when we're just starting, if you think about not just selling, I don't know, pens, but what I'm actually helping to do selling those pens. I don't know, I can help writers put down their ideas that would inspire other people. So it gets your business on another level. So you're not doing this just to make money, but you're doing this to help people in some way. And if it truly resonates with you, this why it also helps you to delay gratification. It also helps you to do more, and you can't really stop them. And then you don't have to, quite often people hate selling. I don't like to sell. But if you have something that is like of such big value to you, that it will help so many people, you just can't keep it. Like, nobody should know about my business, but you just want to help people, and you go out there and you feel excited about what you are doing, and you're telling this person and that person, and they get part of my enthusiasm, and they spread it as well. And I think it's very important that we really understand that, like, why we're doing that. Is that, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. A lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, having this idea that, I will be my own boss, do whatever I want, nobody can command me. But the reality about business entrepreneurship is that you have zero stability. You actually work more than when you were employed, working 9 to 5. You don't have weekends and you don't have evenings. So you have to really have a very clear understanding why are you doing that, so that you don't burn out and that you keep going, and that you are ready to fall down and come up and do this again and again and again till you succeed.
And just being able to just do it again and again and again, and when you can say you succeed in the goals you aspect, how do you sort of shift your lens in adding more goals or bigger goals and not get muddled with the success already that's around you?
I think that this also is this the same question from a different angle. Is that if you really love what you are doing, then the more you can do that, the more satisfied you become. So when we start putting our goals together, we are actually operating from some sort of our comfort zone. So we think about things that are possible based on our old expectations about from our old reality. As we move forward, we discover that there are more opportunities that we have not thought about, and so we start to move forward, and we keep putting new goals and try to achieve them. But it's also important to remember to actually enjoy this journey and celebrate each of the small achievements, because otherwise we can be like trapped in this vicious circle that I'm never satisfied. I always want to achieve more, and when I achieve more, I will be happy, and then I achieve something more, but I'm still unhappy. So people often think that success and happiness are related, but they are actually are not related at all. I can choose in the current moment to be happy, and I will be happy. And I also can perceive, we all perceive success in different ways. We have this one version of success that our society has, that you have to hustle, you have to make millions. This is one of the versions of success, but actually for each individual there could be different versions of success. Well, what is it for him? For example, somebody wants to be successful parent, somebody wants to be successful teacher, somebody wants to be successful student, and I think that's okay. That we should really understand what is the meaning of success for us, and strive for this definition of success, because not everybody wants to achieve great things and do great stuff and hustle all the time, and it's perfectly fine. And we just have once again to know ourselves and be ready to be ourselves.
And just being ready to be ourselves and do this and just go through day by day. You get these different states, and then you're in this really good state, and then you're in different states. Now, would you say it's more like ethical or more better that when you feel your best or you feel like you can do your best, that's when you should give your best? Right? So if you told me like, Amar, can you make me something? And then say I gotten in a fight with the mailman, and now I'm in the wrong place. Now I shouldn't try to make something, rather I should, but taking that concept and putting it in a more broader lens and having the mindfulness and just being able to breathe and knowing that you can make mistakes, but don't let that stop you, but just keep going and keep all of this before you. It really does come with time, and you kind of need to always like shake yourself off, or just like remind yourself or remember your why. I think it's when you get muddled, when you focus so much in on what's happening now. So my question really is, how do you sort of like keep that balance, like two wings on a bird, with being able to be focused, but then still being able to look back and make sure you're doing all these other things like listening in and being authentic, and sort of like have that like ticking, but still be now and listening to everything that's going on?
I think that it's really, we have to first listen inside. We often try to find different answers outside. Somebody tells us what to do, but we have all of the answers ourselves. I can't tell you, this is the right thing for you to do, because I am not walking in your shoes. I don't know what you really need. And it's also in conversations, for example, if I'm not in a right mode, if I'm not in the right condition, I heard before doing anything, I have to change my state of mind. I have to change the way that I feel, and we have the power to do that in 30 seconds. We can. You can't make me sad unless I decide that you made me sad. I'm sad now. We can flip it actually very quickly, and this mindfulness is also helpful if you want to be able to control us with emotions. An outside situation doesn't control us unless we let it control us. Everything that is happening in the world at the moment, we perceive it through our own perception, through our lenses, but we can choose that. We can't control what is happening in the world, but there is one thing that we all can control. How do I react to that? Do I let it influence me, and I feel sad, and I feel frightened, and I feel frustrated, or I concentrate on the things that I can influence, that I can change, that I can do something about it? And I think that answering your question, we have first to have a good foundation, to start from the right place, start from the excitement and the enthusiasm, and then go and act. So not just act for the sake of act itself, but have this there's this definition, inspired action. So you really are like fueled by passion, and you go and do that. But this inspired feeling of inspiration comes only when we stop and listen, but listen inside of us.
Being able to like stop and listen, it really does come with time and being around the right people. Like if I, for example, asked someone who didn't ever own or made, say, past 5-6 figures, if I asked them, hi, do you think it's possible I can buy a Ferrari, for example? They'd be like, no, it's not that, I don't think you can. But then if I went and asked, 4 or 5 people who have 3 or 4, and then they'll be like, just one in a year? Oh, why are you thinking so small? So really, with the company you keep and trying to have these values and keep the right people around you, even whether it be family or friends? How do you sort of not mix the two and keep it professional, but still not let it sort of sink in and change where you're going?
Well, our head is not a junk box, so I think that we have power to control what we let in, and you're so right. It's very important who are the people surrounding us, and how they are influencing. Quite often, the biggest naysayers would be around your friends and family who really don't believe it in yourself. But I think that the biggest problem is we have to believe in ourselves first of all, and it's also. It's not easy. It takes practice, but if we want other people to believe us in us, we have to show up self-confident. We have to understand where we are going, what is the direction, and what does it help, what are things that we are doing, or what other people are telling us, whether it helps us or it doesn't help us. And we can choose. Just a couple of days ago, one of my friends told me that there's one exercise that you can do. Put down all of your different goals that you want to achieve, and then on the second part of the paper, write down all of the people that you interact, for example, during the week. Like people that you mingle, like friends, family, people you listen on YouTube or podcasts, reading books, and then put different lines between this person helps me to achieve that goal, this person helps me to achieve that goal, and in most of the cases you would realize that people that you interact with on a daily basis don't contribute at all to the achievement of your goals, and actually you can just put all of them in this box and then try to find somebody else, but once again, we have to keep those our goals and our aspirations in mind, and not let other people interfere with what we believe in. And you can do that only when you are truly when this is important to you. Because quite often we have some goals just because they're popular. Like you were saying before, quite often podcasting is popular nowadays. A lot of people I want to be a great podcaster, but what they really want to do is to be a great podcaster without all of this process that you have to go through to achieve that. So, like you can be interested in the goal itself, but not in those steps and actually taking action that would get you there. And the same example with the gym. And I want to lose weight, but I don't want to go to the gym. And with goals, it's quite often the same thing. That we kind of want it when it's convenient, but we don't commit. And because we don't really commit, we don't have intention to do that. And then everybody was saying, "Oh, maybe you don't do that today." I say, "Okay, that's good." And, so it's easier to get you off track.
So it really comes in on being able to execute. So like the second something comes up, you should make a decision. So you sort of develop this sense of decisiveness, because if something comes up and then you don't make a decision right away, you're sort of subconsciously making this in your brain, so you won't really make a decision. So you want to develop this decisiveness And when you're making decisions, you want to be able to always make the right decision, like digest everything, all the information in front of you, and then make the best decision you can, knowing that you have the ability to fail and still keep that same zen, and whatever the outcome may be, good, bad, not letting any external factors really affect you. And it goes with like trying to get on par, like physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, but like by trying to do this and do everything at once, it goes back to mindfulness and self-discipline and these things. But the the meta reason behind this is like, how can we really, the macro lens is, how do we sort of make every day and every moment, like, you know, from whatever we talked about, people are gonna listen in and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm listening, but what are action steps that we can start implementing or sort of measuring our growth in mindfulness, or really see if we're having progress or if we're fooling ourselves in thinking we're progressing. So to be able to look at it there and then be like, oh, okay, I'm just fooling myself, or okay, no, I actually made like a big baby step. I should be proud. Keep going.
I think that we have to be proud of every small step that we are taking in the direction of our goal. You know, there is the saying that if you can't move in the direction of your dreams, then at least lie in that direction. So you're just facing your north. That, you know, when we're talking about goals, especially these big goals, and I in the beginning said that the key really is to take those small baby steps. That in the beginning we try to commit to two big things. Again, sticking with the same example, people don't go to the gym for 10 years and then they say, okay, now I go to the gym every day. But this is unrealistic because you're not really in the habit of doing that, and different things will come across and you will change your mind. But what can really work is that to commit that today, like I commit that every day I would exercise for 5 minutes, and you stick to it 5 minutes. You have done this for a week. Okay, go to 10 minutes. Start doing this 10 minutes. Then you build this already, this muscle. It starts to become your kind of routine. Then you can increase this intensity, but not really just jump all in, and in 2 weeks all of the enthusiasm is gone and you are back to square one, feeling that you are a failure, but rather just taking small steps. Like, you know, if you want to eat an elephant, you can't eat it all at once, but like biting it like in small pieces, and eventually you will get there. And again, if we're talking about success or failure, it's a question of how we perceive that. In our society, we think that if we don't get what we wanted, that's a failure. But if we look at it from another perspective, and then don't like take this failure concept out of our mind and think that I either succeed and achieve what I wanted, or I gain experience, I gain knowledge, I get a good lesson, and that can help me to move forward. Then you don't really face failures anymore. And I think that it's very important shift in the mind that can help us because there is not a single person in the world who will be a success overnight. All of the success stories actually have defined 5, 10, sometimes 20 and more years of constant work, of failures on a daily basis, and standing up and keeping going. And if you don't take them personally, so to say that, oh, I failed, I worked nothing, then it is also easier to understand, okay, that didn't work, let's try again. That didn't work, let's try again. Thomas Edison failed attempts of inventing electric bulb, I think, is the best example.
It really made me think in a way where earlier how you said a baby is and the type of mentality they're in, and then if you look at an adult. Now, I'm sure if we look, I'm not sure this exact number, but the amount of words a baby learns in a day, new words, compared to us when we're at our age, to how many new words we're learning, it should really show us a gauge in what we're doing to progress. And this thing of self mastery and doing this, it's like a noble act, and it's one for not the faint of heart. And really doing this and being able to have the grit and like the drive, but then it goes into like being a bird, and the two wings of the bird is like self-confidence and humility. So to have the self-confidence to add value and benefit, but still have the humility to know when you don't know something, and that it's still not from you, rather it's from everything, because you learn from everything and you digested from everything.
I think that's very beautifully said. I totally agree with that.
And then when you were talking to me about the elephant and like you have to take it one bite at a time, I thought of that same concept, like the elephant being a soda bottle, and then if I shook it, and then if I opened it right away and just letting all the excitement being the fizz, everything being out, rather if I did it slowly. So I love how storytelling, and when someone can just speak that, how depending who it is and the person, how they digest it and how they can comprehend it. And really when you speak to people, and then I don't, there's so many billion people in the world, right? And then us, if we're lucky, we live maybe 70, 80 years, right? And within those years, how many people are we going to talk to? It's a limited number. So when you know that, then you can really understand and know the value and try to listen as well as give as much as you can, because you only know you're so many away from the last one.
Yes, I think we have to appreciate every second of the life that we have, because we don't know when it will end, and this mindfulness really helps us to do that, because we enjoy every conversation. We try to learn from each conversation, and what you were talking before, the self-confidence and humility actually helps us to focus on on another person, to focus on what's happening outside, not really sitting in our mind and thinking, oh my God, what is he thinking about me? Am I saying this right? Good thing is that majority of people don't really spend any time thinking about us, because they are occupied with their own voices in their head, thinking just exactly the same thing. So we just get rid of that and focus on what's really going on. And I think that we're also able to go in much more deeper conversations with people, really to listen and not only to listen, but to hear what the person is trying to say. And it helps, I think, in every interaction. It helps in the relationships, it helps in business relationships, that we connect with people and understand their point. And exactly stories, sharing our personal stories, something from the heart, helps us to create this human connection. And also in business, if the company is able to create a story that customers can relate, it once again creates this human dialogue and helps customers to buy, because in reality we all make decisions emotionally. So we first make a decision emotionally, whether I like it or I don't like it, and then we rationalize that. Okay, here are the different benefits that suggest that I can buy that. But in reality, we all thinking first with our hearts, and if we, as people and also as marketers, as business people, can speak to the emotions of another person, then we bypass this logic, and it helps us to achieve different goals.
Now, with achieving these different goals and using this in a marketing sense or a business sense, whatever sense you want to use this, but coming in from an authentic way, even if this lens isn't something you can say comprehend, so to say, or like use. I'm trying to think of a good example that would make sense. Say, in a way of thinking how denture cleaner, like cleaner for like dentures, would be useful. How can I really say think in an authentic way that I'm not trying to like just say sell this denture cleaner to someone? I'm sorry, but this is the only way I could think of like explaining it.
Well, but they obviously also have a good reason to do that. For instance, another good example there is, you know, one guy's cleaning lady was working in NASA, and I'm not really sure whether it's a true story or fiction, but the cleaning lady was working in NASA. And they asked her, "What are you doing?" Her answer was, "I'm helping to send people to the moon." So this is this is this different perspective that all of us in different types of jobs, wherever what we are doing, we always can find meaning for us, and to find this meaning, and then it also helps us to communicate with other people authentically, and it also makes it much more enjoyable.
With that, what would you say, or where would you define, say, excellence, or what is like success if you had to define success in any aspect? What would it be in your eyes? I just like to know things from everyone, because everyone has a different angle and a different reason, and we always know what we're gonna say. Like, if I'm wanting to talk all the time and I'm just like, yes, yes, and just wanting to hear myself talk, I already know that. But when I stop and I'm listening to you, then I'm really learning, because I'm hearing something I never heard before.
For me, well, you asked about two things, about excellence and success, and I would answer about the two things. For me, excellence is very much related to perfectionism, and I think that excellence in itself is good, but perfectionism can stop us from doing things, because we try to achieve this. has to be the best, and we don't let it out. So we never start acting. But I think that excellence is when you do your best with what you have. And as you practice, you become better and better. So you can achieve, you can be excellent at things that you have some certain skills that you can develop, and you can, if I don't sing, even if we don't have talent for singing, but if I spend enough of time, I can be decent singer. But if I have some natural ability to be good at that, with time I can be really, really excellent. So it's also tapping into those strengths that we have. And success for me is, for quite a long time, for me, success was also all of those external attributes of the success that we normally have. But nowadays, for me, success is when I feel that I gave everything that I have, and that I'm satisfied with what I'm doing. And I think that I judge success on a daily basis. So I try to find things that I can say that I'm successful today because I did that, and I was good at that. I was at my peak performance, and then we can combine those different successes, and success attributes start to come to you. But for me, also success comes from within, how you're feeling about yourself, and
I think it just has all those aspects in one, and just being able to be mindful with everything, and just conversing with you and talking to you, I can sit here and go on till the end of time as we talk into all of these things. But coming in towards the end of the episode, I ask 3 things now. One is, if when watching this video or listening to this podcast a year from now, what do you want to tell yourself and sort of speak it into existence?
In 1 year, let me see. There are actually a lot of things that I have in my mind for next year, but I'm gonna plan my goals next week. But one thing that I want next year is to do a TED Talk.
Oh, so it's gonna happen. And then I'm gonna have you back on here, and we'll do another episode, and we'll talk about how you did the TED Talk before and after. And then
awesome. Sounds like a plan.
I think it's a great plan. Now the next thing is 2 truths and 1 lie. So you could tell me any 2 truths and any 1 lie, and I'll have to guess it. It could be anything like, I like macaroni and cheese, or I went to Africa, or I was in an airplane and it almost crashed.
2 truths and 1 lie?
Yes.
Okay. I've done bikini fitness competition, went on stage, made it to the 3rd place. I hate cold, but I go to cold shower every morning. Third one, I never told any lie to anybody.
you take cold. You do the lie is you take cold showers in the morning.
No.
No.
That's actually true. It's actually true starting from this spring when, because of the corona lockdown, I thought that it would be great to find some new habits, something to do, and started to go not really into the cold shower, but we have this jacuzzi outside in our home, so I went there. And I've done it all through, starting from spring now till late autumn, but now it's so cold in Estonia, so the water in the jacuzzi is freezing outside, so I moved into the under the shower in the morning. But I found that it's very interesting how our mind operates. That we're afraid of something, and we are used to do something, and we think that I will never. I was thinking, oh my God, I hate cold water, and I still hate cold water. But I have this decision that I go to cold shower every morning, and in the morning I don't think. I just put the cold water and then count there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then put on the hot water, and that's done. And I think that in all of the cases, we have like this. We have to take this predetermined decision, and it will help us to move and do whatever. But other things are true. I've done one bikini fitness season, and I have lied both to myself and to others. But now I hope that at least consciously I don't do this to neither.
So no, that's really cool and really awesome how that you showed this aspect that, especially for women. I have I'm really close to my mother. I have 2 sisters, and all my cousins, literally all my cousins are girls. So I grew up with this different lens, and how this connotation for women, it's like you can only be a certain way, but just really showing excellence and success in every aspect, and showing that, hey, this is what you can do, and be proud and achieve excellence in everything, not just one thing, and don't listen to everything around you. So with that, the last thing I always ask every guest is to share a quote that's been resonating with them more recently than before, and maybe something that's come up in a book or just in passing, and if you could just share and end with that.
One of the quotes that I really like is act as it is impossible to fail.
Say it again one more time.
Act as it was impossible to fail.
Thank you again.
Mentally, spiritually, financially consistent.